Why is horror such a craze today?
I think we have always loved horror.
Is it a plot that you outline, or is it just the demons in you just coming out and give them a free hand?
I think there are several demons in me. I've still not let all of them out.
And but when you write,
That's why I want to write a lot of horror, a lot of genres, sub-genres within it.
how do you create those sensory fear in people?
If you can feel that you are the character in that story, and this is happening to me, that is when horror in books will grip you. If it's a haunted location, all the so much better. I go there, lock myself up, and that's where I write my horror story.
You also spoke about bodies in pain, souls from the previous life inhabiting bodies.
Because you need to know what's happening inside you and outside you. That I have a thing with my big toe, the toe of the foot. I can't bear to touch it. It's something. It's very, I don't know, it's weird. I feel very weird when it gets touched or something like that. We have Yakshinis, we have Mohinis. Right? If I think about it, I once made a list. There were like 600 folklore entities that I made a list of. So we have so many. We have chudels, we have Dians, right? These are not just pejoratives. They are actual creatures with stories of theirs.
Welcome to StoryTent Talks, where stories unfold. We are honored by the presence of NeilDSilva, who is widely recognized as one of the premier pioneers of contemporary Indian horror fiction. His transition from a 2-decade-long career in teaching to becoming the #1 Amazon India best-selling author, screenwriter, and writing coach. His debut novel won the Entertainer of the Year title at the 2015 Literary Awards. With over 20 published books under major traditional publishing houses like Penguin Random House, HarperCollins India, Rupa Publications, Hatchet. His gripping narratives seamlessly blend chilling folklore, mythological depth, and stark social realism. He broke international boundaries as the first Indian author to serve as the president of the India chapter of the Horror Writers Association. He also was a jury chair for the short story category at the prestigious Bram Stoker Awards. Was also part of the jury for the children fiction category at the Times of India Author Awards. A passionate TEDx speaker, he is the creative director behind LitVenture and India's premier genre-dedicated literary festival. We at StoryTent welcome Neil to this broadcast. StoryTent is an online and offline platform for authors, poets, and readers. Creativity in today's world is one of the core parameters for development of a country. And StoryTent is on a mission to bring in a creative revolution. And what better way to develop creativity through stories and poems? Neil, welcome to this podcast and really looking forward for this discussion.
Thank you so much, Venkatesh. Always a pleasure to be associated with StoryTent. I'm looking forward to the podcast that we are going to have today.
And thank you so much, because I remember we met a few months back at StoryTent Kidzania Lit Fest, and the interview that you did during the Lit Fest was such a big hit. I still remember the auditorium being full with children, adults, everyone so interested in what you were speaking. That also leads me to a question: why is horror such a craze today?
I think we have always loved horror. It's not like the trend has come just today. It's always been there. Even we as kids, we love to read stories from. You remember that time we used to have a comic called Chandamama, where all these folklore stories, and some of them were pretty scary. Then there were stories of Vikram or Betal, and so many other things that we remember. Plus the Ramsey horror movies. They were pretty scary, but still we have all smuggled out somehow to go and watch those movies. I remember, at least I did that. So horror has always been there. It's always been a genre that excites people of all ages. Children have their different things that they watch and read. Adults have different things, but the thing is, the genre always stays. And whenever you talk horror, people are engaged. People are interested to know, because it is something that we don't know about. So the more you talk about it, the more people will be intrigued.
I always wondered, recently you released 4 books, one behind the other. Is it a plot that you outline, or is it just the demons in you just coming out and give them a free hand?
I think there are several demons in me. I've still not let all of them out. But the thing is that exorcism will continue. But I love writing stories. I don't know how to, actually describe it as a process. There are stories in my head, and I'm quite a big fan of the genre itself, horror. I watch anything and everything that comes in that space. But the thing is, I have a lot of ideas and they're bubbling within me. And I just want to put them out on paper somehow. What I write, basically, I write across subgenres within horror. So horror is not just the one kind of thing that people are used to seeing. Like, it's not just ghosts and spirits. There are different subgenres. There is supernatural horror, which deals with monsters and creatures and stuff like that. Then there is paranormal horror, which talks about afterlife, death, um, things like exorcism, possession, and stuff like that. Then there is horror, which is gore, blood, serial killers, cannibals, stuff like that. That is there. There is sci-fi horror also, where we are talking about aliens in spaceships, things like very scary. That again, there are so many different spaces within horror. There is children's horror, which again I enjoy writing. So what is actually happening is we have all these subgenres, but people are rarely exploring all of those. We are talking about just one kind of horror. Now in cinema, you see, there is only horror comedy coming out. Since the past few years, that has been the kind of thing happening, the trend, you can say. But there are so many horror films. If you go in the Western world and see, if you see what America produces. Just today, I was watching Long Legs. Some time back, I watched Obsession a few days back. I'm watching Backrooms now. There is Hokum. There are all these movies which are setting trends. Sinners, which came so close to winning an Academy Award last year. It was a fabulous horror movie. Where is that happening in India? It's not. We are talking about just one kind of unidimensional horror, and that's what is, that's what we are offering to the people. I think that's unfair. India has a huge horror-loving crowd, and you can see when the Hollywood movies release here, the horror movies, they are always houseful. They are always houseful. People are watching them, making reels of it, making stories, and sharing. But we ourselves, our Indian producers themselves, we are not making those movies. And when will those movies be made? When books about those are written? So there were no books. I feel horror is being not served the way it should be.
Still an untapped market.
Very largely so. And that's why I want to write a lot of horror, a lot of genres, subgenres within it, explore a lot. And I think that's the only way we can go ahead with this.
Yeah. Somewhere you also mentioned that fear is rawness from a sensory perspective, right? So from a movie perspective, it's quite simple to create fear. The music, the architecture around the whole, movie. But when you write, how do you create those sensory fear in people? Is it because of the character you create? Is it because the ecosystem around the character? How do you develop fear?
So horror in books will only work if it is relatable. If you can feel that you are the character in that story, and this is happening to me, that is when horror in books will grip you. As you said, in cinema we have a lot of aids. We have the music, we have the sound, we have the visuals itself, we have the color grading, we have got so many other elements. But in books you have only words. You have only words.
Yeah.
And what I do, now my technique is, when I sit down to write a horror story, number one, it has to freak me out. I have to be scared of it to such an extent that I can't get the story out of my head unless I write it. So writing the book becomes my catharsis. Only when the story impacts me to that extent do I actually start writing it. Secondly, when I write, I choose a location which is scary in itself. So I don't write in my house. I live in Mumbai and Mumbai is very chaotic. We know that. I try to get away from the spirit of Mumbai. I find a location that might be a bit remote or something like that. If it's a haunted location, all the so much better. I go there, lock myself up, and that's where I write my horror stories.
Okay.
And I become one with the story. It's a kind of a communion, which you can't explain in words. When an author writes a story, an author becomes one with the story. And that association, when it happens, I know I'm writing a good scene. Every author, somewhere after practicing their craft, they know that this is the point where I have captivated my reader. When that factor happens, when that thing happens, you know you have written something good. Thirdly, I don't outline. Now, a lot of authors obsess over outlining. I don't. What I do is I have certain markers in mind that, okay, this is the story I'm telling. These are my characters. This is the kind of space the story is going to move in. This is where it's going to end. Very, very foggy idea of that. And I know that, okay, these are the milestones.
Mm.
Like, okay, at this point, if something will happen to my character, then this is happening, then this is happening. Such, I just have these milestones. I don't have a full outline. I don't write that. Now, how do I go from this point to this point? It's a free fall for me. I am just, pantsing my way through the story. And when I write, I have become one with the characters. I have become them. And now I'm writing. So what my characters are seeing as the story unfolds is what I am seeing also. So is this event which is happening in my story shocking me? Is my first question. If it is shocking me, if I feel that, oh no, if this happens to me, what will I do? Then I know that I have hit the right nerve.
Then it becomes a first person story.
It becomes a first person story, though I don't write in the first person, and though I'm not there in the book afterwards.
Yeah.
I detach myself.
Yeah.
After the first draft, I am detached. Then I become a reader and a critic of my own book, because that is the time when the editor in me has to take over.
Right.
But when I'm writing my first draft, I am the story. When I wrote Maya's New Husband, I was Maya. When I wrote Yakshini, I was Yakshini. So an author is an actor.
Yeah.
You have to get in that skin. If you don't get into that skin, you are just superficial.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Unless you are one with the character, you do not know what the character
Especially when you're writing horror, because horror is something that you cannot fake that emotion. You cannot fake fear.
I also remember you saying sometime that horror and humor have a very thin line, because if you do not characterize your horror in a certain manner, it becomes humorous.
It does. And I always say that bad horror is comedy and bad comedy is horror.
Correct.
So they are very distant cousins, or close cousins, we should say. So it's like that. So there's a very thin line. Like many of these low budget horror movies, let's take the examples of those. If you see a low budget horror movie and if the makeup is off and the acting is not good, the dialogues are tacky, then you laugh at it instead of getting scared. So that's how it happens.
But tell me, most of your experiences when you were young, in some ways, have crafted you to become in such a professional way today. For example, I remember you sort of saying you were sitting with your father when you were at the age of 12. He was also a subtitlist for a lot of Hindi horror movies like Dark Bangla, Veerana, etc. Did that shape you in some manner? What was your experience around that, which you could possibly not learn outside?
Definitely. My dad had a very unique freelancing occupation. He was a subtitlist. In those days, we used to subtitle movies manually. Now there is auto-generated captions and all that stuff. But in those days, I'm talking about the late 80s and the early 90s. We used to actually type the Hindi dialogues of the movies, and adjacent to that, we would type the English translation. And that would be fed into the screen, and that would how the subtitles would be done. We used to call it hard-boiled subtitles, because they would be hard-boiled into the screen itself. My dad used to do that, and he has translated more than I think 600, 700 movies of that time. All the movies that we know, my dad translated them, but he worked it as a freelance job. He had another job of his own also. And when he used to do that, it was not just horror, they were all the movies of that time. And whenever he used to do that, he used to ask me to assist. So I would sit next to him, because, typing requires a lot of concentration on the typewriter. And we used to get these scripts. So he used to tell me to read out the dialogues so that he could type without any delay. Without any time lag sort of thing. So because everything was on a very quick deadline. So I would read out the dialogues and dad would type. And then type the English translation. So in that way, I have read out whole scripts to him. And even when horror movies used to come, because all the Ramsey movies were translated by my dad, when they used to come, he had no filters like, okay, this is a horror movie, you sit this one out. Nothing like that. You read it. I used to read. I read the dialogues of Veerana, Dark Bangla, and Tehkhana and Purana Mandir, all these movies. Even at that time, to my dad, And yes, I used to get scared because the songbooks, there's something called as a songbook. Now that trend is gone. In olden days, I'm not saying olden days, it's not that old also, 80s, 90s, we used to get something called as a songbook, the poster of the movie. And inside there would be all the lyrics of the songs. So the songbook had all the stills from the movie. And when it was a horror movie, of course, the picture of the monster was right on the cover. So that used to be on the table, and I used to be reading that script, and I would be scared because Dad used to work in the nights.
Okay.
Daytime he had his job, right? And I used to sit with him sometimes to do it when we had a time crunch, and yeah, I think that's where I gained my immunity.
You read Dracula at 12 years.
I read Dracula. I read Frankenstein. I
Yes.
read The Picture of Dorian Gray. I read all these classics. I read the whole of Edgar Allan Poe's body of work. Not body itself. I know we are talking horror. His body of work. I think I finished it before I reached my 10th grade. I had read everything.
Oh, okay.
Of Edgar Allan.
Okay.
And I know he was a weird, kind of very kooky kind of a person in his personal life. But as an author, he had a lasting impact on me. In fact, when I read Telltale Heart was the first story of his that I read, I could not get it out of my head. And I was very, very young. And it was not that it scared me. It's a very scary story, but it's not that it scared me. It had a different kind of impact on me. I was awed by it. I was just overwhelmed by how can somebody write something like this? Now, in those days when we were young, Venkatesh, we did not have a lot of movies, and we did not have social media, and we did not have all these things. We had only books.
Yes.
They were our constant companions. And words were all we had, like that song goes. Right?
Yes.
So we used to read it, and we used to get, I at least used to get very deeply emotionally attached to certain sentences and phrases and paragraphs, and I used to fall in love with how some people used to
Remember
write.
any one sentence now?
I don't remember sentences as such, but I remember stories, as I told you. Like the Telltale Heart is something that will never go out of my head. Or maybe Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. Now that is something that really shook me. And if you have not read it, please do. The Lottery, it's a short story, and I can't recommend it enough for horror writers. Like, you have to read such stories so that you know how things move. Or The Pit and the Pendulum, another story by Edgar Allan Poe. There's nothing happening in the book, but the moment you read it, you know everything's happening. Or Metamorphosis, Kafka.
Yes.
So these are things that will never leave.
I mean, those are classics in many ways, right? And those typically framed into your thought process, which is where you're able to characterize yourself and do your horror books today, right? You also had mentioned about huge stacks of books in your house,
Oh, yeah.
from floor to ceiling. What was the experience to just live in that? Not by reading, just to live there. And I mean, it would have been quite a literary experience. Most of them could have been horror books. I mean,
No, they were not horror books, most of them. They were of all kinds. My dad was a very crazy kind of a bibliophile, collecting all books everywhere, and every bookstore owner knew him by name. And he would never come home back without a book in his hand.
oh,
So it would be every day. It was an everyday thing. And every day mom used to fight. So that was also there. Well, there were so many books. I'm talking like tens of thousands of books in my house. And it was not like I had a big house. It was an average middle class house, like, a 2-bedroom kind of a house. One room was entirely my father's books. And they were, as you described it, from floor to ceiling. In fact, we had bookcases that toppled over because they could not bear the weight of them. Books, and
That's
we
amazing.
had to nail them to the walls. When we were shifting house, we had to have 2 trucks for the books.
Wow.
And that too after mom secretly selling away some of the books that he never read. Even after that, we had to have 2 trucks. So that is the situation that I grew up in. I grew up immersed and drowning and whatever in books, inundated by them, overwhelmed by them, awed by them. But at that time, because I was living that reality, I never understood its importance. I never understood what it is. I thought that everybody must be having books in their house.
Mm.
Because see, you are a child, right? And you
Yeah.
are in your house. You are seeing your house. That is your worldview. So for
Yes.
me, it was like everybody is a reader.
Mm.
It was only after growing up and after the books went away and after my dad went away, did I realize that what I had at that time.
Mm.
Because I had certain books that were like amazing. I remember I had one of the very first editions of Gulliver's Travels,
Mm.
Jonathan Swift.
Yes.
Very first editions. I think it was like at least 200 years old.
Wow.
The book was that old. It was so like it could be shown in a horror movie as a prop. That old, crumbly pages and all that. And I read Gulliver's Travels in that book.
Mm.
And
Wow.
that book we lost somehow. So
Okay.
now I realize that all these things should have been treasured.
Yes, yes. That's so true. I think many of us, even for us, I mean, we had so many books. We didn't keep it that it required, it should have been done.
We didn't realize at that
Yeah, we
time.
didn't realize.
It's human nature, as Michael Jackson says.
Yeah. Then you went on to teaching and you did teaching for over 2 decades, right?
I did.
You were passionate about teaching, but there was a time when you got burnt out.
Yes.
What is creativity burning out, and also a feeling of missing something when you actually go in to a certain profession and you feel there is something missing. My call is not here.
I'm still passionate about teaching.
Hmm.
So that passion has not gone. Give me a classroom and I'll still set it on fire with what I teach. So I love teaching and that love will never go away. But what changed is certain things overtook that passion of teaching at that time. And that was, see, what was happening in the whole educational system, we know. I'm not going there. It's a very hot topic right now. Also, we are talking at a time when lots of things are happening in the education world out there. At that time, when I gave up my teaching career, that was in 2015, things were just starting to happen. All these, we were not learning the way that we used to learn before. The purity of education was going away. Right? There was no challenge left. Everything was becoming too easy. Everything was becoming too competitive also.
Yeah.
And it was just crushing the students. So I did not like that. And that was one reason that I gave up teaching. But the bigger reason and a more personal reason is that I felt that as a creative person, I wanted to create stuff of my own, original stuff. And that means books. Because that I always wanted to do even as a child.
Yes.
When I used to read out those scripts to my dad, I wanted to write stories like that. When I used to read something like The Telltale Heart, I wanted to write something like that. And that feeling was always there, but always suppressed. Because life takes over,
Yes.
and I was teaching and I was doing a very great job with teaching also. I'll always be thankful that I was a teacher for 2 decades.
Do you still have a 20,000 Facebook community of
Yes, I do
people?
have a community on Facebook, which is still like there, and plus all my followers that I teach. I'm a mentor with Scholastic Writers Academy also, where I am. I'm teaching there in a way, but I'm teaching writing. So that's going on. But the thing is, I wanted to create something of my own.
Yes.
See, if I had been in the classrooms, I would never have written all these books.
Yes.
I wanted something which would have my name on it, a book with a cover, something like that, on my name on it, that I could, say that this is something that I made.
Yeah. Yeah. Did the teaching career help you to write your
Yes,
observations
it
on
taught
people?
me a lot of discipline. Observations of people is one
Your
thing.
first book was perhaps related to teaching as well from your teaching career.
It had my main character in the book was a teacher.
Correct. Yeah.
But that is Maya's new husband you're talking about. And also, you know what happens with teaching is it gives you a lot of discipline. It teaches you like, okay, because, teaching has to be done on a very clockwork basis.
Yes.
So I respect deadlines. Authors are very notorious at not respecting deadlines. But I do. Otherwise, I'll never finish what all is buzzing right here in my head. That's one thing. And teaching also, it teaches you a lot of people skills. You know how to interact with people, and everybody who comes into your office, because I was also the principal there, it's a different person.
Yes.
And when you talk with them, it's a different conversation. You understand a lot about human psychology because you're also dealing with kids.
Correct.
Right? You're dealing with people who are growing up and emulating different things in life.
Yes.
You're walking their walk. So you learn so much as a teacher. Plus, the whole thing that when you are teaching subjects, you are seeing the world in such a huge perspective. You are no longer myopic.
Correct.
Because I used to teach all the subjects almost. It was a coaching class, so I was allowed to do that, and my students wanted me to teach everything. So there are times when I have also taught history, geography, and economics, and I have also taught physics, chemistry, and biology. And I was very good at math also. I was also teaching English. So you can imagine the kind of nuances that has given me in my writing, because I use all of that information.
You speak about synergies between body, mind, and creativity. So when you run, is it to clear your mind or is it to fill in your mind?
So the thing is, I started writing in 2015. That was when my first book came out. And that was a life-changing thing for me. Because I had shut down my coaching class and I had gotten into writing. So from an active life outside, I had come into this life in one room where I was just writing day in and day out. Now that took its toll on me. Now what happened is, writing, it made me lethargic, though of course I was writing very well, but it made me lethargic, it made me slow, it made me sluggish, and I started gaining weight. I didn't realize it at first. Not just that, it also started impacting me in other ways. Now I had to go to a cardio at a point because of certain chest pains and all that, and things were not looking good. This was also the time when we had the COVID pandemic going on. So we were all locked up in the house, and there was this entire frustration building up within me, because I write dark stories. I write such dark stuff. And if you keep such a man cooped up, of course, that's not going to be good. So it took its toll on my health in a lot of ways. When the pandemics opened up, I decided that I have to take stock of this situation. I cannot just go on with this, right? So that is when I discovered my love for fitness. So I used to gym earlier also, but that was, on and off. But after the pandemic, I really discovered that I want to be out there. I want to hit the ground. And I want to do it on a regular and a daily basis. And that's how I started. It was walking first, then it transitioned to jogging, then it went on to running. This year I ran my first actual marathon of 42 kilometers. I'm doing ultras now. So I run at least 50 kilometers a week now on a regular basis, and I run even more when I'm training. So that's a part of my life now. The 2 hours of my morning are dedicated to running. Nobody can take it from me. I guard them very jealously. And then there is another hour or so somewhere in the day when I will be at the gym and I will have my phone shut off and everything like that, because I tend to be a kind of a hybrid athlete who is also running and also gymming. Both of these passions are very important to me. And that's also important because I am writing all this dark stuff, all this gory stuff. I need to purge it out of my head at a point.
Yes.
I can't let it infest my nervous system, right?
Yes.
So I have to do this. And when I run, I do not think about my stories. I can't think about my stories. Even if I'm stuck at a point the previous night, and one may think that while running I will get the idea. No. While running, because when I am running, I am just communicating with the nature around me. I am just feeling the earth. I'm just doing that. I'm not thinking about my stories. I don't want to be in that world, which I'm anyway going to be for the rest of the hours of my
More
day.
to empty it than to fill it.
So it does get emptied, but then it gets filled up very soon. But that, the 2 hours of complete blankness is needed.
Yes.
So I that's why I talk about
To reset.
That's why I talk about this as a kind of a synergy. Because you are exercising your mind all day. You need to exercise your body also. Because the thing is, it's a very simple fact that if you have hundreds of creative ideas in your mind, but your body is not capable of sustaining it or bringing it to fruition, then how is it going to work out?
You also spoke about bodies in pain, souls from the previous life inhabiting bodies. Basically, no choice. We bodies inhabit, without any choice. Does that reflect in the way you deal with your body or in the way that you write, reflecting your thoughts around that? Is that a correlation there for you in your
This
stories?
question is very, like thought-provoking. Means even I have to think about whether I actually, introspect a little bit. But I think yes. I think every horror author or any author for that matter is very much in communion with their bodies, because you need to know what's happening inside you and outside you, especially when you're writing horror, because horror is very symptomatic. Like you
Hmm.
talk about it's very sensory.
Yes.
You asked me about how do you evoke horror in words.
Yes.
Earlier you asked me that. So one of the ways that we do it is we actually talk about what are the physical things that are happening
Mm.
to the person. Like, in my first book, Maya's New Husband, I went all out.
Mm.
It is very gory. It is gory, I mean violent gory. There were people getting mutilated, and
Mm.
in various ways. There is stuff that I don't want to talk about on the podcast.
Mm.
It's in the book. But those things to write about, you have to feel it. Like I have something, I have a phobia. Okay, it's a very thing. I don't know whether others share this with me or not. But now, if there is a sharp needle or something like this in this room that is just jetting out, I will not be able to sit in this room. Even if it is there, like 10 meters away,
Mm-hmm.
I will not sit here,
Okay.
because I will have this imagination that thing is going to project like a projectile, come and shoot me in the eye, and
Mm.
specifically eye.
Mm.
I have that phobia.
Mm.
So I'll not see any sharp object. I don't deal with sharp objects even at a closeness, especially those that are jutting out and pointed.
Mm.
So I can't. When I watch horror movies, I don't watch those scenes.
Okay. But when you write?
When I write, I write.
Huh.
Because that's the challenge, right?
Mm.
As a horror author, you have to write it. That's the challenge. You have
Yeah.
to do it. So I do it. I've done it.
Mm.
But in personal experience, I cannot do that. I have a thing with my big toe, the toe of the foot. I can't bear to touch it.
Okay.
It's something. I mean, it's very, I don't know, it's weird. I feel very weird when it gets touched or something like that. Or if I had in the swimming pool, I had a cut once.
Oh,
There only on the thumb and the toe.
Mm.
And I don't know, maybe it started from there or what. But the thing is, it has stayed, and I can't allow anybody to like do anything with my big toe.
That cut would have lasted a fear in you.
Oh, it did, and it was a very deep cut, and it also brought a fear of swimming itself in me, which I have to get back to. But those all those kinds of things, they stay with you.
Yes. They
So
do.
you become very aware
Yes.
of what's happening inside you, and the more you write about all these things, because writing is an isolated and a lonely process, right? So when you are
Correct.
writing, these things are come just spilling out of you.
Yes.
And how does writing work? How do you write a scene? Okay, I have a scene. I'm writing a scene about maybe a serial killer stalking someone and eventually catching that person and killing them. I have to write the scene. Now it sounds like 3 lines on paper. But when you're writing it, you have to make it happen.
Yes.
You have to make everything felt.
Yes.
So you are just sitting with your laptop, and you're just closing your eyes in a dark room, and you're thinking how is this going to work? How is this going to pan out in real life? So you are with your eyes shut. That's how I do it. With the eyes shut, I just try to think that I am the person who the serial killer is following, or the other way around, because POVs matter.
Yes.
Right? So, and then how is this going to happen? What am I going? I'm going to run. Okay, I'm going to run, and if I run, what is going to happen? My slippers are going to come off. I'm going to feel the grass, and maybe after that the road, and they are going to puncture my foot. Then I'm going to run. Maybe I'll trip. Maybe I'll fall. I'm going to feel this my heart thumping, right? And there will be this steely feeling in my throat. That's going to happen. And the spit itself will dry out, because fear does that to you.
Yeah.
And you're going to sweat, but it's going to be cold sweat. It's going to make your body clammy and cold. So it's a very weird sensation when you're feeling cold from the inside, but you're also sweating. And then you're going to eventually succumb.
Oh.
So, you build the scenes this way. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah. You have to build it like a motion picture.
You have to build it more than a motion picture. Because what a motion picture will do is take 10% of it and show it in a scene.
Yeah.
But when you are writing it, I'll give you an example of Stephen King's beautiful novel, Gerald's Game. So Gerald's Game is this novel which has a 36-page description of a bound woman on a bed trying to reach a glass of water. That's it. She's bound on the bed. There's a glass of water. So she's tied. She can't move at all. And her husband is dead. They were playing a game, right? A kind of game. And she's dead now. She's bound. Husband is dead, being eaten by a wolf or a coyote. I'm not sure, right? Something like that. And there is a glass of water. Now, her only way of escaping is to reach that glass of water somehow, make the glass break, take the shard, and cut the rope with it. How does she do that? It's not possible, right? But she has to do that. And 36 pages of describing that and living that is what horror is about.
Is any of what you mentioned here in your latest books now? I mean, all these.
I have had the goriest of descriptions right from my first books. Like Maya's New Husband was such a revelation for myself that I could write such demented stuff. I did not know that I could write something of this kind of level where I am torturing bodies in this manner. But that's what makes the book the book. That's what makes Bhaskar Sadachari memorable to all the people who have read the book. Like he's a true villain. And that's why when Bhaskar Sadachari eventually dies in the book, you get that payback that this happened, this had to happen. Or Yakshini. Now when I write Yakshini is all about a Yakshini trapped in the body of a female. Right? So she is Meenakshi. Meenakshi is a girl who has grown beyond her years, and there's a Yakshini trapped in her. So whenever she is molested or anything like that happens, the Yakshini inside her becomes active. Right? And then she becomes a Yakshini that way. And then she's completely different. She will then shred that man alive. So now to describe that, how an innocent demure girl otherwise transform into this kind of a demigoddess. Now that requires descriptions. And this is the horror that stays with you.
Yeah.
And this is more, I'll tell you, since we started speaking about the distinction between cinema horror and book horror, this is the kind of horror that will stay with you for longer than the horror shown in a cinema. Because cinema is something that someone else showed it to you, you watched it, you went. But book is something where you are reading the sentences and you are creating the scene in your own mind.
Correct.
So a good author will always write a book in partnership with the reader. The author writes 50% of the book.
Yes.
The reader imagines the rest 50%.
Yes.
That's how a good book is made. And because the reader is also making the book along with reading it.
Yeah.
That is why reading sustains longer than
it does. Because you're creating your own images in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But tell me, so when your book would get converted to a motion picture, will it no longer be your story?
It will change. Definitely it will change. It's going to change and we have already written scripts for some of my books which are pending.
Your OTT web series are going to be coming.
My web series is coming, but the web series is not based on a book. So that was purely writing for screen. So we wrote it in that manner. But Yakshini, when we were adapting it for screen, right? So when Yakshini, we did it, but it's still happening. So when we adapted it for screen, we had to change a lot of it. The descriptions, because when you're writing it in kind of with words, but now you have to show it. How do you show a woman transforming into a Yakshini?
Yes.
So now that is a different sort of space altogether.
Yes. So does your book start with a character-driven approach where the terrible things or the supernatural things come around the character? Which means
so I've always character-driven.
Characters.
Always. Plot is secondary to me. I believe and very strongly believe that our readers get invested in characters and not plot. Everybody knows Mogambo.
Correct.
Who remembers the story?
Yes.
Everybody knows Batman, but who actually remembers or knows the stories of it? Speaking of horror also, everybody knows Frankenstein.
Yes.
But who remembers the story of Frankenstein and Dracula? Very few.
Yeah. Yeah.
Characters are what, like make literature happen, not the plots. Especially so in horror. In horror, the character has to be somebody that you feel like, I am this guy.
So basically, you create the terrible things around the character, not the terrible things first for the character.
It's both ways. It's a mix of both. But
Yeah,
yeah, horror is essentially about, if you put it very, very, very simplistically, and I am doing a disservice to horror by saying this, horror is essentially about taking a weak man and a very and putting them in a situation which is very formidable. Taking a person and putting them in an impossible situation. That's what all good horror is.
You also write for children horror.
I do.
That's a very contrasting sort of segmentation. You have to have appropriate fear that you
Yes,
give, but you cannot take out the originality of it.
You can't.
So when you sit at a desk and write for children and write for adult, how different are a person you are?
When you are writing for children, there were several filters in your mind. Like, you cannot show too much blood. You cannot write horror which will, like have a lasting impact on them. I don't want to write anything that will create a kind of a feeling in them that they cannot get out of. It has to be something that gives them a thrill, a kind of fear for a while, but then they should be able to also get out of it. So that is what children's horror is different. That is how children's horror is different from adult horror. Adult horror, adults, you can torment and torture them the way you want. It doesn't matter. You give them nightmares for lifelong, it's fine. But children, no. You have to draw the line that, okay, they should get scared while reading the book, but the moment they close the book, they should feel good about it. It should not be a book like Babadook coming in your house, right? It can't be that. So that is one thing. Second thing is, I don't show killings, especially in children's books. Thirdly, very important, in my children's books, the monster will always be defeated at the end. The children or whoever the characters are, they will always be kick-ass victors at the end of it. They will be daredevils. So I want to project that, yes, there is fear. We all get afraid. None of us are immune to it. We all get scared, but we must fight.
Fight fear.
And scary situations are going to come in life, even if you stay in denial that I will not read horror at all. My mama, papa are giving me a very sheltered life. I will never read horror. There are many children like that growing in their cocoons who are not going to have a healthy upbringing. But the thing is, I want to tell them that fears and scares and all these things are going to come to you in life, but you have to fight. You have to face the monster. You have to sit on the roller coaster eventually. And then you will be able to overcome it. So this is what my books are about. So that's why my children's books also, like they work in a different way. Playthings has done so well. Joyrides is doing so well. There's a third book coming in the same series. So we are continuing these things because children are loving it.
Yeah, they do, because like I said in the StoryTent Kids in a Lit Fair, there were so many children. And they were so enthusiastic. They knew your characters so well.
They did. And I had a very beautiful event some time back. It was an online Zoom event, but there was this reading club, but all kids, and there were about 20-25 kids, and they had all read my book Joyrides, and everyone gave a video review of it.
Wow.
That was so amazing. Like, I, as an author, I'm in the Zoom call, I'm just listening to review after review after review from these children. It was like I was on top of the world. I don't know.
Amazing.
I don't know if anything can top that. And children giving that review. It's not like, adults will put you on, but children will be very brutal about things. So, nice.
So you draw very deeply from the folklore.
I do.
And you treat it with a lot of research and respect as well. At what point of time did you feel that folklore is not a backdrop, but actually the engine of your stories?
It is. I think we are very story driven. We are a very story driven culture. In India, stories are everywhere and stories sell. But the thing is, now we are very bad preservers and marketers of our own stories. Because if you see our own folklore, it's there everywhere. Every village you go, you will hear tons of folklore stories. Now, even in this room, if I talk to these boys around here, they will tell me, कि मेरे गांव में ये हुआ था, मेरे गांव में ये होता है, right? But the thing is, these things are not written down.
Correct.
They will just fritter away and they will go away. So I want to capture all those things. The very earthy, the very Indianness of our folklore, which nobody writes it down. People
Yeah.
say, people talk about it, but that's what my books, Yakshini, Pishach, now I'm writing Bayangi. So all these books are about that, because these are about the spirits in our culture, in our nooks and crannies of our great and marvelous country. And I want to bring them into stories, and I'm going to write about them. So that's what I want to do, because Japan has done that, Korea has done that. Their horror, their indigenous horror has gone worldwide, right? Everybody is a fan of Korean horror right now.
Yeah.
Do you think Indian horror is any less?
Not at all.
I'm saying horror, but I actually mean folklore.
Yeah.
Indian folklore is right up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the world is not talking about it because we are not talking about it.
I mean, we have
We are not writing it
characters
down.
like Rakshasas, Asuras, millions of years
We
in
have
our
the
civilization.
Pishachas, the Brahma Pishachas, the Daityas, then
Yeah.
we have so many, the Betals themselves. There is nothing written on all these things.
Yeah.
So we need to bring them out. And the only way to bring them out is through stories. Like how the US did with vampires and werewolves. They sold these two characters everywhere to everybody.
Yeah.
Like there must be 5,000 movies on vampires.
Mm.
And what's the lore of a vampire? It's a 3-line lore. There's nothing to it.
Correct.
They will just package it in different ways,
Yeah.
make it sexier with every production and sell it.
Yeah.
That's it. And we actually have things to talk about.
Yes.
We have
Absolutely.
we have Yakshinis, we have Mohinis, right? We have, if I think about it, I once made a list. There were like 600 folklore entities that I made a list of.
Oh.
So we have so many, we have chudels, we have Dians, right? These are not just pejoratives. They are actual creatures with stories of them. We have Dakinis, and we need to talk about them. And we need to make this brand of indigenous folklore horror, our horror, which will be our stamp, our identity to the world.
True. Yeah. I've got a list of rapid fire questions.
Okay?
yeah.
Scare the horror out of.
Not like you, though I would like to. So, if you were given an option for your vacation, I don't know your answer because you did mention this before. Which of the following would you choose? An exotic island, a hill station with natural beauty, historical sites, or a dark, haunted bungalow?
I would like a mix of all of this.
But
seriously.
one answer. I
It's,
know
of
the
course,
answer.
It's the fourth, of course. It's obviously the fourth, but I would like the bungalow to have some historical value. Historical value in the sense, like, if somebody died in it. Okay, if I can digress, I was invited to an event in Varanasi, a fabulous event, where I was to talk horror stories sitting at the ghats where they Manikarnika Ghat and all, where the burning happens, right? Where the cremation happens. So I was to sit there and give this talk to like people, and they had sold tickets, so people had come. So I was to this fabulous event was happening, and I was invited as the only speaker for it. So to put me up in Varanasi, they found the best accommodation for me, and the accommodation was not in a hotel, but it was in a kind of a haveli palace converted into a hotel. And the room that they gave me was called as Sadhu Kaksh. It was called Sadhu Kaksh because 300 years ago, there was actually a Sadhu Maharaj, who had sat in that room and given Samadhi. Means he sat and gave Samadhi, he died in that room. And then his body vanished. Nobody has seen his body since. And that room was given to me to stay. And I stayed in that room and I wrote the best horror scenes. So this is the kind of ambience I want.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, which common fear triggers your adrenaline rush? Spiders and insects, heights and fallings, tight enclosed spaces, complete pitch darkness.
Tight and enclosed spaces.
Why is that?
I have a kind of a claustrophobia about it. And second would be heights.
Heights.
I'm not afraid of spiders and insects. That's
Okay. Where does your horror idea usually strike? In a vivid, unsettling nightmare, walking alone in the dark, staring at a blank screen, or eavesdropping on public commentators?
From these options, nightmare.
Nightmare.
Yes, because I have dreamt of stories that.
Oh, okay.
But better than nightmare, if you could call it, if there's something called as a daymare, because I dream all the time. And the best time for an author is, I don't know, some other authors who are listening to us might resonate with this. the time when you're, just trying to sleep. You have gone to bed, you have laid down.
Isn't that half sleep?
Yes, that state where you're just falling to sleep. That is the time when the best ideas come. But that's very, very, very
It comes
ephemeral.
for a few seconds.
Just a few seconds. But you get scenes, and then I
Yeah.
write the whole.
Wow.
Those. And then sometimes, if you are lucky enough, that will convert into your nightmare. And also the converse of it. After you wake up and you actually get off the bed. That lazy time.
Yeah.
That time your body is not functioning, but your mind is functioning, and that's the time when the ideas also come. So that's why I said daymares. So both ways work.
Yeah. Which part of the horror book is the hardest to write? Crafting the opening hook, sustaining the mid-book tension, delivering a genuine scary monster reveal, or nailing a satisfying memorable ending?
I think it's the mid-book tension.
Mid-book
Definitely, it's very tough to pull that off well. Because opening hook you have been thinking about it for days and days and days, so the opening hook is nice.
Yeah.
Ending, you are wrapping up things, so you are also happy about it, right? Scary scenes, it's in your blood, so you can write it.
Yeah.
But to sustain the tension, that's the biggest challenge.
You have to take the reader to the end.
Yes. So that's where many authors fail.
Yeah. What is the biggest sin a horror writer can commit? Explaining the monster too much, relying entirely on cheap jump scares, writing boring, unlikable characters, or having a "it was a dream" ending?
Can I say all of the above?
Okay.
Because it is. All of these things are like suicide for the horror author.
Yes.
You should never over-explain the monster.
Yeah.
As I said, 50-50 partnership.
Because the images are formed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to have that. And you can't bore them. You can't have a character doing something stupid. And you can't leave them hanging in the lurch at the end of it also. Even if horror gives us the liberty to give happy endings or sad endings or also open endings. But you can't cheat them.
Yeah. What would you prefer? Open endings?
I like endings which are interpretative. Like even if
cliffhanger type?
I like twist endings, not cliffhangers, because cliffhangers would essentially promise a second part is coming. I would like to the book to have an ending, but it has to be an ending which packs a gut punch. So something that makes people go back and I have to read page 65 again, or where was that? So that kind of thing. I like toying with my reader that way. I've done that in this book.
Okay.
The Curse of the Maharani, but I will not tell you.
Which weather condition is the ultimate horror backdrop? An oppressive, blinding blizzard? A torrential, deafening thunderstorm? Thick, unmoving blanket of fog? Stifling sweat inducing heat wave?
I've written in all these conditions.
Okay.
The thunderstorm thing sounds nice. Like I would like to revisit that maybe. But yeah, I should not be stuck in the thunderstorm. I should be in the house.
Okay. And that depends on your character.
The thunderstorm must be outside and I'm writing. So that's fun.
So what are your future plans, Neil? You are coming with an OTT series. You have a number of books planned. You already released 4 books. So what is your plan this year?
I've released 20 books, 4 this year.
Wow.
So now my future plans, right? Now this is the question I didn't know. But the thing is, okay. So I have got a few other books and projects up my sleeve. So talking in terms of books, there's a book about, again, a folklore book that's coming out in maybe Diwali time. So there will be one of those. Its title is Bayangi, which is a Maharashtra folklore entity. And we are trying to write it, publish it by October. Then Fearless 4 series, 2 books were already out, Playthings and Joyrides. The 3rd part would come out maybe next year. And I'm busy actually promoting these 4 books right now because these are very recently released. And of course, there's an anthology. I don't know. I don't even remember what all is going on. There were just books that will keep rolling. Yes. In terms of series, my series, which it will be probably out in August this year.
Wow.
On an OTT. Since the official announcement is not done yet, I will withhold that information right now, but it's going to happen soon, maybe in the coming few weeks. I'm also writing a film which is a separate project. And this film has been already announced at the Cannes Film Festival.
Wow.
So that's going to happen. That's probably going to happen next year if the timelines and all fall in place. So there were a couple of exciting things happening, and basically, I'm very happy to ride this kind of journey where horror is being accepted all over, and people are really, appreciating the genre.
That's wonderful. Which are the top 4 books of what you have written so far that you would rate?
I knew this was coming. Top four that also you want. I can say the
Yeah.
top one. Like I have two books to hold the top position. It would be a kind of a catch between Maya's New Husband and Yakshini.
Okay.
Yakshini, because it is a story that is very close to my heart, and I loved writing it. It just came out of me in 21 days. I wrote the book because
wow.
I never had a hitch. I knew exactly what I was going to write. I felt like I was this kind of a blessed scribe writing a story that the universe has given to me. So, I had that kind of very ethereal feeling. So that was how Yakshini happened. And it's a story which I did not compromise with, except for the word count, but that's another thing. So Yakshini is a story which is top. And it's also the story that my readers have enjoyed the most. People have cosplayed the cover.
Oh.
People have had club readings of it. It's we have done so much with them. Yakshini, definitely. Maya's New Husband, yes, because it was the book that made me an author. My
Yes.
first book, I was raw and gritty and completely no holds barred. I wrote what I wanted, and it's I think the place where I actually understood that I can write. So that was Maya's New Husband. So the third part of it is still coming out. You asked me for 4 books.
Yes.
So maybe on somewhere on the third position, I would place The Curse of the Maharani now. Now this book, the reason why I why this book, in fact why I wrote this book itself, was because of what I have. I don't know if the camera will catch this, but I have the dedication right here, which says that this book is dedicated to the Ramsey brothers.
Okay.
For their products, for their films, because this was what influenced me in a way to write. And the book is a tribute to all those films. So I have the spooky Havelis, the gothic environment. So I just needed to write something about it, which I did. So that is what happened in Curse of the Mind. It turned out to be a fun book. This is not a kind of horror that will terrify you for long, but it is something that you'll really enjoy. And maybe fourth book I would say is Playthings.
Okay.
My first book for kids. And
Right.
Playthings was something that gave me a lot of recognition among the young readers of horror. Wherever I go now, these young people, they just talk to me about Playthings. They come to me for autographs. And that is something, wonderful.
I want to ask you a question as we are nearing the ending of this podcast. Someone in the audience, a lot of people in the audience have a novel in their mind, have stories in their mind, and are waiting for the right time for them. You started when you were around 39 with your first book,
I did.
right? I don't want to come in between you and the audience. I want you to talk to them directly. Not in advice, but something frank enough to help them get on to their passion.
The first thing, if you have to write a story, is that you need to have an idea that is so strongly appealing to you that you can't get rid of it by any other means except by writing it. So if that story has held you so strongly, then only start writing it. Number one, don't start writing just because I want to write a book. No, that should not be the thing. It should be because you want to tell a story and you feel that your life is incomplete if you do not tell it. Because that was the urge which brought me to my first book. When you have that kind of compelling feeling within you, that is when your story will flow. And all these other things that people usually cite as excuses, I don't get time, I have writer's block, I don't have the language to write it, all these things will just fade away. You will become one with the story. So the thing is, first, find an idea or hit upon an idea that has this kind of an appeal to you. Second, when you're writing, when you start writing, make sure that it is your voice. Do not try to imitate any other author who is famous or who has inspired you, influenced you, or whatever. It has to be your words. And every author who is successful till date is successful because they have a unique voice. Take any famous author, take your favorite author. I'm sure that if you take a paragraph out of their books without knowing who the author is, you can still identify who it is. That is because their writing style is unique. They don't try to copy others. So try write it with your way and write it purely. That is the thing that works. You have to find your voice. Do not worry about the language and the grammar and all those things, because those things are secondary when you're writing fiction. You have to write the story, build the story in such a way that you create an engagement with your reader. If they are not going to stay with you because the story does not interest them, then what's the point of having a literary language? That's my whole thing. So the language thing can be repaired later also. You will have editors. But the story has to be wonderful. The story has to come out well. Work on your characters. It's always the character that sells. The plot is highly, highly secondary. So a lot of authors, like they get so fixated on the plot that they just lose sight of what their character is doing, and they start changing their character to suit the plot, which is dishonest. You have to, once you have built a character, the rules of that character cannot change. If I create a monster, the rules within which that monster works cannot change. So those things have to be very carefully kept in mind. And one more very important thing: do not share your story idea with anybody when you are writing it, because story ideas get jaded. You yourself will get tired of them by talking to others, and then they will lose their sheen, and you will not feel like writing them anymore.
Yeah.
So keep the idea fresh in your mind. Don't talk about it. Don't share it on social media. No need to join all these writing clubs where people keep on sharing excerpts and all. I did that. I used to do that a lot in those days. Maybe it helped. I don't know. But I would say in today's age, don't. Because everybody is a critic.
Yes.
Anything somebody says will then stay in your mind.
Demotivate.
And you will change your style because somebody said something. So write as you want to write. Do not share about it. Keep your idea pure. Keep it a secret. Stories need to be a secret till the time they are released out to the public.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you for this. Where do you see the next 5 years horror trajectory going?
Definitely expanding. Definitely expanding. We are discovering horror like never before. Especially with the influx of these foreign films. Everything that's coming out is being received so well. Like I just named names in the start of this podcast. Everything has done so well. And I think India is still behind in this because we are still not coming out of our horror comedy space. We are just trying to cater to the mass market. We have lost sight of the pure horror cinema. But the thing is, being in the industry, I know that a lot of good horror is happening in the near few years. A lot of good books are being written. Right? I'm trying my best. A lot of other authors are also doing it. And we are going to have a lot of horror in the next coming years. And the readers and the viewers are going to get a lot of good stuff. Just stay with us. That's it.
That's amazing. It's been really wonderful talking to you, Neil, and wishing you success on your every book with the biggest sales that's possible. Thank you again for coming and joining us in the podcast.
Thank you so much. And I am really thankful to StoryTent for putting this show together, because the way you described it to me when you were calling me over is that you wanted the readers to know what an author's perspective is like. Who is the man behind the books? So that really appealed to me, because a lot of podcasts that I've done, people speak to me about the content of my books only. But they don't speak about the man who wrote the books. So I think that's more important after you have created a body of books.
Yes.
So thanks, and I'm really, I really appreciate what you're doing for the author community. Thanks.
Thanks, Neil. This is SI Venkatesh signing off. Thank you.